It is so hard for me when I hear someone say Jeremiah 29:11, for that person to have a complete understanding unless they have been through a place of captivity. That scripture is plastered on bumper stickers and Bibles. It's so easy to look over that unless you've been in a place where you really know the deliverance from captivity and God has brought you from something. And so in just my short story, we don't have a ton of time, but my life was radically shifted in 2006 and 2007 following the dream of my father. Got into a place where we had bad financial stuff back then too, and he got caught up in robbing Peter to pay Paul. And the district attorney had gone after him, convicted him. They went to trial, and he turned to me and said, "Hey, if you take this 8 years, I will go away forever. But if you don't, you're daddy's little monster, and I'm coming after you with everything I got." And I said, "What? I don't know. 8 years. 8 years was a decade, you know." So I had now, guys. You know what's funny is at the time too, I'm an atheist at U of H. I'm fighting Christians. I'm debating them in evolutionary theory, and I'm really picking apart poor, simple Christians who don't know their Bible. Well, I ate all that later, but so I went to trial. God has a way. God has a way. So I went to trial and I lost. And I remember when that gavel slammed, and they had said 25 years. You know, sorry for the dramatic effect. There was a part of my heart that said 25 years. You know what? I can. I've never been in trouble. 25 years. I could probably do parole. I could probably go 3 years, 4 years, maybe make parole. And the district attorney, who was beautifully anointed by the Lord, came in and said, "Well, Your Honor, we'd like to stack the charges because there's multiple sides to the case." So we motioned to stack charges, 50 years. And it was the 50 that broke me. And it's because I had a hard head. 25 didn't do it. I don't know what it's like in y'all's life. Maybe you guys had like an overnighter for a DWI. Well, it took a 50-year sentence for me to really meet the Lord. And not like the movies where they give you opportunities to kiss your wife goodbye and everything. And I wasn't married to Marsha at the time, and in my BC life, my way before COVID life, before Christ life, but they don't give you that opportunity, they just take you away. And in that place, they took me away. I probably was a day or two later that I had figured out suicide. Wasn't going to slit my wrists or hang myself or do anything. I was going to take pills. Surely they had to have pills in TDC, I don't know. I was just taking a handful in my life, and so this spirit of suicide had come on me, and then finally I just said, "God, if you're real, and you want to use my life, use it, because I figured out how to lose it." And I don't know, it was like I was bipolar. I had the craziest supernatural hope to go on and do this 50 years. And so a lot of you guys, I look out here and so many people are a part of, and obviously I got out of prison, so that was good news. So a lot of people were in this room today, 5 years later after my release from incarceration, were a part of that encouragement. I'm looking at pastors in the room right now. I'm looking at Kate, who was one of the first people that Jeff Wells introduced me to, that says, "Hey, she's involved with prison ministry." You know, and it was so few that were doing it at the church we were going to. I said, "Man, there's only 3 prison ministries that are available, you know, and one of them was for girls and 2 for guys, you know." I said, "Man, we are really lacking. We need some help." And it was kind of our heart. And during the incarceration, God had given me the idea for HeBrews coffee. I personally thought it was like an Isaac type thing, and I laughed at it, but I always talked about it. Even so much I couldn't even get a job, so I got a job at Starbucks and construction. And I told Starbucks my story, and they said, "All right, we'll hire you, whatever." So, and then I got a letter from Starbucks corporate that said, "Hey, I'm sorry, you're fired because you have this felony." But the lady who is not a believer that I know of, she said, "You know what, did I hire you? Did your regional manager hire you? Did your district manager? Go back to work, man." And I just remember like, dang it, the Lord wants me here at Starbucks. So it was that. It was working in small positions. It was taking whatever God had available. And then I'm telling you, the day I got a job, y'all, was the day I met Marsha. So I got like 2 jobs that day. And I was like, and I went to a Bible study. I went to a Bible study in the Woodlands. And she walked in. I'd been telling my story to these random people that had no idea who I was. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, "Did you just say you went to prison?" I said, yeah, you kind of missed the first part of the story. But yeah. She goes, "Oh, that's great. That's awesome." I was like, "Dang, you're great." I said, "Who are you?" So, but Marsha had this great story too in this testimony of redemption from a previous husband. And it was amazing. These stories came together in this short period of time. So maybe I answered the question, maybe I didn't there. But at least you guys know a little bit more about us.
Let's have Marsha tell us a little bit of your journey as well, because you have.
Yeah. So I had come to Texas with my first husband in my early 20s, and just shortly after that we had already had children, but when I was about 25, all of a sudden, just cops just show up at our door. I'm clueless. I'm very naive, and I was a newer believer. And next thing you know, my husband's in prison, and so I'm here, no family, with 3 children under 5. So while I didn't experience incarceration, I did experience the effects of incarceration, and by the grace of the Lord, I stayed with him, and not for any reason, but that's what the Lord told me to do. And I knew there was a time and a season that I needed. I had 3 kids, and I needed to know the Lord. But during that time, it was challenging. I had a part-time job. I couldn't afford my house, and so the obstacles that you face when you have somebody, that's supposed to be with you, helping, providing, and all of a sudden now is incarcerated. And so that was my journey of 7 years with being a single mom, trying to find resources, and understanding, incarceration and having a family member incarceration. And so as I began that journey, and God was so just the provision that came, but also the church becoming real to me, and the people, and just having support. And I think that's one of the things when I hear about hope, right? Because when you have somebody incarcerated, you really don't know. You're praying that they would get out, but you really feel like it's such a loss because you don't ever know what's really going to happen. But so that kind of ties in with several years later. And again, did I ever think back then that we would have a business, that we would have a way to help our community in any kind of way, just to be a light in our community? I never did, and I was a single mom for a lot of years, even much later. But so when I met Geoff, that was why, I had been able to, I had lived in the Woodlands only because of the provision of the Lord, but I really felt like I was alone and nobody understood, being a single mom. And so that was part of a blessing when I met him, and it was, yeah.
On the inside, there's a serious blessing for those who would go inside. And in your heart, you'd be like, what am I going to say? How am I going to minister to these people? These people are on fire for the Lord because everything else has been taken away. Now, some facilities are shorter time, but most of the larger facilities, you're going to get a guy with triple, quadruple life sentences that's tapped out for the Lord, and he's glowing with the glory of Moses. I wanted to disciple under those people. But when the volunteer came in and spent time with us, it meant so much because they didn't have to. They could have been with family on Christmas Eve. They didn't have to come in for Easter. They didn't have to do these services with us. You know what I mean? And they were leaving family behind. Yeah, she's at home, but I just want to come see you guys, be here for the service, and make sure. I said, man, it was because of volunteers that we were able to meet. It was because of volunteers that we got a reprieve to get away from what was the reality of cold, hard bars and bricks and stones and cellies. Amen? Y'all don't know what a cellie is. Y'all don't need to know what a cellie is. And so some of y'all will say, yeah, amen. And so in that, but I'll say this even greaterly. I just last week, this is crazy, for the first time have now been approved to go back into the TDC for whatever the Lord's reason was. It has taken 5 years. Yeah. And so and just to kind of recap too, I did 8 years. So I was gone for that 8 I didn't take from the district attorney. I did that 8. Isn't that crazy? And what I thought wasn't mercy then became the thing that I did later. Just so cool, man. God's cool. And I don't regret, I mean, I regret things that I got involved with when I was young and stupid, but I never regret a day that I spent behind those bars and those walls because of the time and the intimacy I have with the Lord. But let me say this too, because just back to the question, do you know what's even more powerful than the volunteer going in? Or the one who's never been incarcerated, the one who is or has been incarcerated. So I long to hear testimonies from people, you got out, how did you make it? What did you've been out 5 years, 10 years? How are you making it? What jobs did you go for? What did it look like? Did the church welcome you in? Did anybody say hello to you at church? They see your tattoos and run away? I wanted to know all these questions. Oh, don't be a pastor and walk in the door. I said, would you accept me? And they might say yes to me because I don't have tattoos on my face. I said, will you accept this brother just came out of the gang, you know? And we would put pastors on the spot and they'd be like, I think we would, but I don't know if we have anything set up for them. And they don't, man. So part of the beauty of this ministry is what is being set up on the inside and outside. And can I say that for men, it's probably 75% more resources that are available to those who are incarcerated. To women, it's probably 25%. And so this ministry, and if you've heard of any more, it's very rare to have any place that would have facility or go into facilities and have an aftercare to stop recidivism in our area. So it's very powerful. And because we don't pay a lot of attention to the women's side of the incarceration for whatever reason, our society, it's precious. And they're the ones that get it. Men are the idiots, you know? Men are going to go back 10 times. Like, dang it, let them go, you know? But, yeah, go for it.
I was just going to mention that even just walking along with somebody and the step-by-step processes that people have to take. And I know that even for myself, having support and having people just encourage you, just saying, you know, you're going to make it. You're going to make it, you know, because it is hard to be a single mom. It is hard when you have no resources, no, you know, income coming in or very minimal income. And the difference that it made in my life for all those years, my ex was gone 7 years, and I honestly I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for the people around me. And allowing myself to be vulnerable, to be transparent, because the truth is that, you know, we need one another, and definitely when you're going through such a hard time, just a small encouragement, and even more, you know, any kind of help in a practical way makes a difference in people's lives.
There's two sides to this story, right? There's a person that's incarcerated, that's God is dealing with behind bars, and then there's the family. And the family sits in shame because they don't want to tell you that their son's incarcerated. Now, if I ask everybody in the room how many people have been incarcerated, we might have 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever. But if I ask you how many people have been affected by incarceration by some level, and I guarantee you half the room or more would raise their hands. But nobody's talking to them. Nobody's encouraging them. There's no support for that. So the fact that you guys do that as well is a super huge blessing to the mothers and the fathers, the grandmothers, the family, anybody affected by that incarceration. Because incarceration is a cancer. It just kills the family. Unless God comes in that situation, there's nothing good about prison except for God. And if you don't meet him there, I just can't imagine, you know.
Do you have anything? Okay. One thing, like the theme here is really about community. It's developing that community. It's something we encourage the women we work with when they're coming out of that program or they're stepping back onto the other side of those gates, is develop a community that's going to encourage you, that's going to support you, that's going to speak truth into your life, that's going to love you and walk this out with you. It's going to be difficult, so you need that community to help you just to stay together, keep it together while you're walking into that place.
Well, I think like Irma mentioned, you know, we didn't realize, honestly, opening up HeBrews, what a hub it would become for believers. And I can't tell you how many people that since we opened last year that walked in there and were just to themselves, or walked in there, were vulnerable, I'm going through divorce, young women that had children going through divorce, that it just became a place of, a safe place of community, of believers being able to help one another. And we had really found out that, HeBrews really became kind of this third space between home and church for people. And we really embrace it. And we're so thankful for everybody that walks in the door. And so you never know. I think that's one of the things, is you never know the people around you, but any kind of encouragement. We, since then, have had multiple, mostly employees, but come and stay with us because they were going through a really hard time. And it's not a sacrifice, like the sacrifice for us, because we know what it's like to go through a hard time. And you never know how it impacts somebody. You never know what a difference in the course that it changes somebody's life. But the simple, even just the simple of anything you can do for somebody and help them, even if it's for that season, that will impact their lives. And so again, like I said, just even encouragement, just encourage. You don't know how many people just need to hear, you're gonna make it. I promise you, it's not always gonna be like that. And that helped me a lot of years along the way, just understanding that this was a season and it would pass, and there would, as long as we stayed with the Lord, I think that was the thing. But having the resources, I knew nothing about resources as well. And so as I begin to dig in, and now there's plenty of, women that'll come to me and I'm like, hey, you know what? I know of this place that could help you with this, or I know of that. And I think that's just, it's even simple. It's even the simple things we do that you never know how it could affect someone's life.
Can we just give Geoff and Marsha a hand just for what they're doing to glorify God and just to reach the community? Thank you so much.